everyone. Welcome to another episode of Her Wellness Business Empire podcast. Whether you're listening to this on a podcast or watching it on my new YouTube channel, welcome. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm super excited about this week's video because I get to interview my friend, my colleague, the beautiful Rosie Batista. And I was like, wait, am I even saying your last name right? I think so, right?
You're perfect. Yep.
Yay. She's also my Jersey girl entrepreneur friend. And I wanted to share a little bit. Welcome, first of all, Rosie. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Me too.
So Rosie and I have been connecting for, it's been over a year now on a pretty regular basis, right?
Yeah.
So she and I
We
were
met in a Zoom room. We met in a breakout room.
right. Completely
Which is
random.
so great.
I love it. Breakout room that we were assigned, and we were in a small accountability group together, and since then she and I have stayed accountability partners and friends, and it's just been such an amazing journey. So I'm so excited to have you here on this platform to support my community, because I really love what you do and I can't wait to share it with everybody.
Yeah, so, I can't wait to share it.
Yeah. All right. Let me give you kind of the bio for Rosie. And because I love her already, but I want to share with you kind of her journey, a little bit about her journey, her street cred. And then, of course, I want to hear it more from Rosie's. What did you say your grandson calls it? Noise, not voice. Your noise.
It's my noise.
Rosie is a lifelong entrepreneur with a vision to help you uncover your unique gift and share it with the world. Hell yeah, amen to that. And the vehicle she uses? A powerful, impactful product. She is known as the Queen of Card Decks for purpose-driven entrepreneurs like Dean Graziosi, everybody knows him, Maya Camerota, I know you work with her. I'm not as familiar with her, but Brendan Richard, hello, big names, and hundreds of others. But it doesn't end there. With over 35 years experience creating impactful income, generating teaching tools and products, she sees card decks as the gift that keeps on giving, with almost infinite possibilities for both business and client growth. I can't wait to dive into this, because this is something I've seen out in the world. You go to like really cool independent bookstores and you see cool, card decks out there, and you think like only special people do those things. And really it's available for everyone, isn't it?
It's available for everyone. And I like to say that if you have a business, there's a card deck possibility.
Oh, we're going to get into that. I want to know, because you've been in business for 35 years as an entrepreneur, what was pre-card deck business like for you? Like, what were you doing before card decks?
Yeah, so I'll start with I'll leave the small ones behind, but the big one was I was an entrepreneur mom because I was home with my kids. Right. I wanted to be home with my kids. I'm like, okay, well, I got to figure this stuff out. And I loved making things. And because of the need I had for when I had my daughter, and it was my sister and I, and we were like, oh, we want to make pretty hats. So we made our daughters a beautiful hat. And we were strolling in the park one day, and like everyone was stopping us. Where'd you get that hat? It had a big, huge bow on it. Where'd you get that hat? And so, long story short, we wound up in 400 stores throughout the country, in Macy's, Lord and Taylor, and in Catalog. And we were sewing all the hats ourselves. And there was no Facebook, no internet, right? So we're knocking on doors, and through catalogs. And it was like, oh, if you got into a catalog, oof, then everybody wanted you. And so that's what happened. We were at one trade show, and an expensive trade show in New York City. People were walking by, nobody bought anything. And then the last hour, we get into a catalog, and that was like, boom, then from there, Macy's wanted us, Lord and Taylor wanted us, small boutiques wanted us. So that was my first, uh, you know, adventure, really big adventure. And it just went on from there. And I like to make things.
Yeah, that's amazing. I can't believe after all these time we've spoken that I did not know that. So you
Yeah.
sewed the hats.
Oh, yes. We would, I mean, when I think about, we would stay up around the clock sometimes to meet orders. It was we got my mother, my sister, and me. We would be sewing, sewing, sewing. And then we wound up, hiring people and having like a factory. But before that, it was like we were doing it. And we're like, oh my God, we had like fabric in my sister's living room, like up to the ceiling, these big bolts of fabric. It was
Oh my
crazy.
God. I just had this image of you guys on Shark Tank. Like if there was a Shark Tank, then like they would have been like
Yeah.
all over that. That would have been so cool. Okay, so then what was the transition? How did the transition come to card decks? Like how did you get there?
Yeah. Not to take up too much time with that, but things started to go over to China and get reproduced, and people were copying us and all that. And we did not keep up with the going over to China to be able to mass produce and keep things affordable and all of that. So we were very much about making in the USA, and we kind of sort of leverage part, it didn't really pan itself out. But then I became an online coach, and I wanted to make, I wanted things. And the card deck thing really came about from my clients saying to me, I wish I had a book, I had a cookbook, I had a journal, and people were saying, I wish you were in my ear 24/7, like on my shoulder, telling me like those tips and things to do. And so I'm like, oh, how cool would a card deck be? Because it's one small thing on one card. And I made my first card deck. And it took a really long time. And I made every single mistake.
Of course.
Every single mistake possible. But like I learned so much, and I just really love it. And even when I was like speaking and doing things like that, and people would come, they call it like selling from the back of the stage or whatever. People want to take a piece of you home. And I would sell it as a system, a kit or whatever. But if they could only buy one thing, I would say, oh, you should take the card deck, because like I knew they would do the things. And so when people do the things,
Yeah,
that's when they make the transformation. Because
right.
we can teach all, like there's so much knowledge, especially today. Like
Yeah.
there's so much knowledge out there. Like seriously, we can learn anything anywhere. But like, do we follow through? Do we implement? Do we take the time and like do an action step, or is it like one not completed course that we have, or one like book that's getting dust by the side of the bed or something like that?
Yeah. Can you imagine if everybody put every unfinished course and book in a
Oh,
in a warehouse? Like it would be
no, that's like painful. Like even
like
you look at your bookshelf, it's like, yeesh.
What's
Yeah.
so interesting? I was thinking about actually just thinking about it recently, is that my biggest goal with my business is not just to sell somebody a course, but to witness their transformation. We want people, right? That's why you and I connect so much. We care more about the transformation for our clients or students than we do about them buying the actual product. Like that's why we do it, right? Because we know that creates a ripple effect in the world. It's not just even their lives, it's their families' lives, it's their clients and their students' lives. It's really so powerful that it just almost makes me cry sometimes, honestly.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love that you said that, because one of the things that I will say when, to my students and everything is like, please get out of your head that you're making a card deck. Yeah, you are. They're cards, right? But you are making a transformational tool. Like, so when you approach the creation of that way, like it's so much more powerful, and there's so much more energy that goes into it, and so much more, you're more invested in what's the outcome that what am I doing for people? And then you can step out of your own nonsensical way of like, oh, what if it's not good enough? What if all the things that go on when you're creating something and start to block you, when you can focus on, no, this is actually something that's going to really help someone to get this wisdom, like anchored in to their system and make a change.
I love that so much, because I had this visual of like somebody making their card deck with that mindset that everything just pours out of them. They don't think of anything else except for having that person in mind that they're making it for.
That's right.
And it creates so much more joy and ease in the process too. I love that.
And it's so fun. It's fun for the creator, and it's fun for the user, because if you're like, I mean, let's face it, for whatever reason, many people feel overwhelmed and like, oh my God, I can't take one more thing on my plate, right? But you could pick a card up and read it, like that you can do, right?
So, okay, I love this conversation. And you know what? And it's funny because you said I don't want to take too much time, but one of the things that, and I want to get more into like the cards, but as an entrepreneur, I think it's so important for people to hear a backstory. It's like kind of like that image of the peak and the mountain. What people see is just the peak, and they don't see all the work that has gone into it, and all the steps that people have taken, all the flops, all the ups and downs that people have taken along the way to get where they want to be. And also you said you've gone through so many mistakes, right? So I don't ever want anybody to feel like they're making a mistake and stop them in the track. Like, make the mistake and learn from it and keep moving on, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I think these are really important things for people to hear. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
So my question for you, as it relates to your card decks, is you said in the beginning, you could figure out a card deck for every business. Who is it really for? Like, honestly, like, tell me more about that, how to wrap my head around that.
Yeah. So, I mean, and we're not supposed to say that, right? As entrepreneurs. Yeah, I help everybody.
I help everybody.
Right. Take that back. So what I mean is, if you're a heart-centered entrepreneur and you have a method, a process, a system, wisdom that you're taking a client from A to B, right? In any way, a card deck is simply a tool to get them there.
Yeah.
So for any kind of process and any kind of system, it works. I mean, think about how you learn the multiplication tables and how you learn to spell and how you learn maybe the capitals of the states. Like, it was just like over and over again, repeating like a card, right? So it's a similar
cards,
thing.
right?
Exactly. So if you're like, say, if you're an essential oil person, like, you could be teaching someone like what the different oils do, or combinations that you can put together, or, recipes that can go together. Like, there's so many things, right? That's just one thing, right? But so anything that you're teaching, it's possible.
Here's something I just heard that I didn't think about before, because when I think about card decks, I think of like a tarot card or, something like that. That's super woo woo, but, but you said there's anything you're teaching, any process that you have, and there's this, and then you mentioned flashcards and how we learn. And I was just thinking about this concept of repetitiveness, and how really, when you are an entrepreneur and you have a message, we have this and you're clear about who you're helping and what problem you're solving. Like, you feel almost weird feeling like you're constantly repeating yourself. And yet, it's the most important thing to do. Like, I see this one person on Instagram literally saying the same thing over and over again with different music and a different like video, right? So I was like, but that's the way the message gets in. That's the way people learn. That's the way people get to know you. That's and what you stand for and what you do and who you do it for.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that is like so powerful because we think, oh, I need to really create something new and I need to say it in a different way. Maybe you could say it like a slightly different way, whatever. But the thing is, someone's not hearing you every time you say it.
Right.
Maybe you're out there like, I don't know, it's like maybe 12, 17 times before someone sees you. And then maybe they'll see you again in another 17 times
Yeah.
when they're thinking about it. And then you start to, so like putting all of your, like using the card deck over and over again. And don't forget, like algorithmically, I don't know what that is. Like if there's 50 cards in a deck, like that's a long time of pulling a card and like in different formats and different ways. Like you're just anchoring in this information and learning this new information. Like you're really getting it.
Yeah.
You're really taking it in.
So
Yeah.
give me some different examples of card deck types that might be
Yeah.
that people might be surprised about.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you about Dean Graciosi's
Yeah.
card deck.
Yeah.
So when I made his card deck, I simply did that by listening to his free challenge. And I was like, wow, he is saying such profound, amazing things on sales as service. And I was like, I was just taking notes. And the way my brain works is in these little concepts. But at the end, I'm like, oh my God, this is really valuable information that people need to have because every time you get on a sales call, you need to be reminded that this is about service to someone. And you holding back is like serving no one and hurting
Oh,
everyone. So
ah,
so
quote
I took
that
his
one.
quotes, turned them into affirmations so that you pull a card, you're reading this profound affirmation. And I have to tell you, the people that have this deck are like, oh, like you pull a card, it means something to you at a different time. If you're going to get on a sales call, if you just need to be like pumped up for the day about what you're actually doing as an entrepreneur. And like when you have to go out there and like make the offer or get on your, webinar and make the offer
Yeah.
at the end, you're like, okay, I got I'm going to read a card or two and now I'm going to go in there all fired up. So that's one example. Like that's simple, but think
Brilliant.
about how powerful that tool is.
Yeah. I bet that's like
Um,
putting like light bulbs for so many people right now. It is for me, for sure.
yeah. And another example is say you have a book and it's got like 12 chapters. Like I had one client, 12 chapters on intuitive eating. So, okay, there's 12 different modalities about intuitive eating, but she's like, oh, I really want to help people with muscle testing. So her card deck is just on muscle testing that teaches you the skill of muscle testing. So yeah, you have all those concepts, but now you honed in on this skill because you have these cards, you're getting really good at it. There's all different ways to do the muscle testing. All the diagrams are there. So that's a different kind of way to do a card deck.
Yeah.
So is it making sense now of like,
Yeah.
oh, so anything that you want to
Yeah. So
have
it could be
people
an
absorb.
affirmation where you just pick one, or it can be like you go through one card at a time to learn a process.
Yeah. Yeah. I
That's,
have someone now that's working on a deck for engineers. And you
oh my
would think like engineers, but she's wanting them to be able to like go through the system and the process and take the client along with them so that the end result comes out properly where they miss these steps along the way. So again, like a super cool teaching tool.
so
So
how does one, I love this. I hope I only imagine that this is like really putting light bulbs for people. How does one actually into, so you obviously, if you want to learn how to create a card deck, you work with Rosie. That's just obvious. And she's going to teach you the process. But once somebody makes a card deck, how do they actually integrate it into their business? Do they use that as a standalone product?
yeah.
Do they use it as a bonus? Do they use it as a tool? Like how do people typically use it in their business?
So so for fun, I'm going to tell you that I have a card deck that's called 50 Ways to Use Your Card Deck. I'm holding up the box for podcast people. So,
I love it.
so I
So there's
have a
50
course, right?
ways.
So think about my course is the card deck creation course, and my card deck is 50 Ways to Use Your Card Deck. So this card deck is just 50 ways to use it, but there are like, I mean, there's unlimited ways, and it can stand alone and it can go with my course. So my intention is always to have people make the most impactful product that can stand alone, so that it can be like, you know what, I'm not sure I want to make a card deck, but like maybe I'll get that card deck just to kind of feel them and see like how many ways I could actually use it, right? So it can be a person that's just coming into my world, or it can be an addition, like here's a gift for coming into the course kind of gift, or like an add-on bonus. And I mean, there are just really literally so many ways. What's they're really helpful too in, say you go into a Zoom room and there's people on the call and you're waiting for the people to come in, you can be pulling your cards. Because you know when
I
there's
love
that awkward silent, like there's that silent, like, okay, where's everybody from? And all that, which is nice.
Pull a card for us. Pull a card for us. Pull a
Yeah.
card for us. Pull a card.
Okay. I'm going to pull from a deck that I have I call it I am Power Connector. So you're probably all familiar with like the I am statements.
Yeah.
And this deck was like, it downloaded to me on a plane one day. I'm coming back from Florida visiting a friend of mine that was sick. And she said, can you make me something that would make me like, when I get up in the morning and my head's not in the right place, that would like kind of get me on track. So this card deck came downloading out of me. So again, though, you can see your card deck always solves a problem. And that's why I say any business can have one, because now you see, I just solved the problem for her, or like for anyone that's waking up, like, and your mind's all screwed up, which is a lot of us, right? And
your card deck always solves a problem. I love that.
It solves a problem for someone.
Yeah.
So, okay. So here's the card for us collectively. It's I am open. So at the back of the card is like a mantra or a prayer. And this one says, I take 5 minutes to sit in silence so I can hear the answer to my questions. And I am open to the divine guidance that is mine at any moment. I consciously choose to be open and receive it. So, hey, we could use that throughout the day, right?
Yeah.
But now imagine that in the beginning of a class, now everybody just is like, and everybody, you can pull one card for a whole room and people will be like, oh, that relates to me this way. And I get it that way.
I
And
love that.
It doesn't matter like what card you pulled, because you've given a bit of information to people and they're going to take it in like it's, I like to say digestible golden nuggets, right? Like easily consumable, digestible. It's like, oh my God, I forgot what you said. And oh my God, it's so much and I can't take notes. It's like, okay, just sit for a minute. I'm going to read you one thing. Just like sit for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So
there's so much power in those nuggets, because people only hear 10%, or they only take away like 10% of content, like when you're sharing in a webinar. So like even in this interview, there's going to be 1 or 2 nuggets that they're going to feel like they're going to walk away with and hopefully do something about it with, or feel inspired, or see the possibilities, because I already see possibilities. So
you need one.
I know. What am I waiting for? It's been 1.5 years. What the heck? I can see so many. Oh my gosh. I see so many possibilities right now.
Yeah.
Let me.
And I'm going to say a disclaimer before you question. I'm just going to say a disclaimer. And I say this like in my webinars too, that like I take no responsibility if you become a serial card deck creator, because many people do, and they have multiples. I have one person that's up to her 6th card deck now. So, okay, like that happens to people.
That's on you, man. That's on you. Well, that's so funny that you said that, because that was going to be my last question. Do people tend to have multiple card decks in their business? Brilliant.
They do. And people will come in and say, oh my God. So you're either like, oh, I'm not sure what to do, or oh my God, I have so many ideas, I'm not sure which one to pick. And so I will always say, you pick the one that you like, that really just lights you up right now and that you're so excited about. And you're like, oh, I feel really like that one kind of just lights me up just a little bit more. And the other ones can go in like your safe little like coming soon journal or your creativity journal in a safe place, and you'll get back to it. But you want to focus just on one to get it done, to get it out there, because when you do that, things change, things align. Like you have this product, you get seen more, you get more podcast interviews, you get,
Yeah.
invited to speak, you have a
Yeah.
product. You are like, you're the people know you're serious. Like, well, she's created stuff, so she's got to be like serious business person.
That's really interesting. That's a really interesting point that I didn't even think of. And I imagine like it's probably a pretty powerful like gift to send to potential collaborators or affiliates or
Yeah,
joint venture partners or
100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that's
Um,
really cool.
and you always have something that's, like you have this beautiful thing. You don't have to send somebody something with your logo on it, or another like mug or another
Yeah, little tchotchke
whatever.
dust
Right,
collector.
exactly. That, not that there's anything wrong with tchotchkes. But how about like powerful and impactful and fun sounds better to me than a tchotchke.
Yeah. Oh, this is such a great idea. Oh my gosh. I love this. So tell me how do people work with you? Like tell me about how you work with your students. What does that look like?
Yeah, so I have a guided course. I say guided because there's live components to it.
Hmm.
So there's that. So it's kind of like it's a guided course with a community. And then I have done for you services. So there are people like, Dean Graciosi, who's like, obviously he's not going to go taking my course. And like, so if you're already up to big stuff and you're like, don't have time for a course, like then
Yeah,
I just take care of it for you. And that can look like me curating the content by watching, I watch people's courses, read people's books to curate the content. Or, you give me the content, I do it from there. So there's
so smart.
whatever way,
Yeah.
I can take all of it off your plate. And
Yeah.
with the ultimate goal that you leave, like my guarantee for my course is that no one gets out of it without a card deck,
I
because I'm
love it.
pretty like ruthless with them. Like it's like, okay, where are you? Why aren't you showing up? How are you doing? Where's your card deck? When are you getting done?
Yeah.
So that that really, because it doesn't benefit anyone for you to, I don't want my course to be the one more thing you don't do. Like I'm not really
Right.
interested in that at
Yeah.
all.
Kind of going back to what we said before. Yeah,
Yeah,
like don't want them to our students to, we value their time and money and outcome.
that's right.
So that's what we
That's
do it
right.
for. But by the way, and you probably have done this already, but you said something about journaling. I'm like, oh, a card decked on journal prompts would be really cool. I bet somebody.
Yeah, there's a couple of people, but yeah, but it's nobody does it. Everybody does it their own unique way. So it's
Okay,
different.
that's such a great point because you can say, like anything else, somebody's already done that. Or so let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's a big thing, right?
Yeah,
To
because
people. Because
yeah,
see, that's
because
a crowded market. Oh, it's too like, are there too many
saturated.
doctors?
Yeah,
Too many lawyers? Like too many, like maybe, but but are there like there's a lot of people doing a lot of things. So you're not gonna find something that there's like nobody doing.
right.
And you do it your way, like your magic elixir. You're like a blender. So all the things of your lifetime into you all churned up and then spit out. That doesn't sound so great, but you know what I mean? It's your magic. It's your magic
Hopefully it comes out
of
spit
your
out like rainbows and butterflies. That
right,
green
and
blob.
unicorns and all of that. But it's so different and so magical because it's in the way that all the people that you've studied and all the things in that unique way. It's like a different way of seeing it, a different perspective. And those are also beautiful.
Yeah, I love that because it's the same thing with what I teach in Leverage Your Holistic Business Academy, which is helping women in wellness create their own unique online course. They get stuck in that, well, it's already been done, but it's not been done your way.
Way. That's
There's
right.
no competition because there's no other you
Yeah.
out there.
It's such a challenging concept up for us to understand that there is no competition. I remember when I first heard that years ago, I'm like, wait, but what does that mean?
Mhm.
Like, of course there's competition. Like, she's my competition. But no, because you, and even if people are doing the same thing, at some point their paths, it turns because the next idea and the next idea,
Yeah.
it just flows out differently.
And you want,
So
it's, if somebody else is doing it, it's just proving that it's a viable,
that's right.
a viable choice. Yeah, exactly. And path.
Right.
So there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. Is there anything else that you think is important to share? I don't know how long we've been talking, but I know I want to value your time. And what is there anything else that they should know about card decks? And also, equally as important, how do they get to be in touch with you? And of course, I'll leave all this information in the show notes and the description below. But tell us
Yeah,
more.
so I would just say this one tip that I would say is that if you have this idea in your heart, or you're hearing this, you're like, oh my God, that sounds so cool. I would love that. Like, don't let like all of a sudden it's gonna be like, oh, but I probably can't afford it. I can't afford the printing. And you don't know that. Because I had even a client, she goes, well, I really can't afford the printing. I said, really? How much do you think the printing is? And she's like, oh, well, I mean, thousands and thousands. I'm like, no, because I will say that I've worked that out so that people can do small quantities, that no matter what your budget, what your brand, there's a way for you to do it.
I love it.
So I would say don't let yourself get all that goes with anything, like anything you're going to do. Like, don't get all caught up in the like, how am I going to do it? And what if this happens? Like, if you're called to do it, just step in and then like the universe, just the doors just flop open in front of you. The next step just appears. So
Yes.
that's my
Yes.
wisdom.
Like a year of yes, right? There's a reason that book was so popular. A year of yes, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I love that. So
Yeah, and I have a free gift for everybody, which is
thank you.
over 250 ideas for your card deck. So if you're like percolating a little bit now, this is over 250 ideas that will spark that a little bit more.
Oh, sweet.
And then, I give webinars where I take you through a card deck training and you can actually see the way people use it and then, invite you in to actually make the thing with me.
I
So,
love it. That's great. Okay, we'll
yeah.
definitely plop those links below so that you can get access to that free offer. Thank you so much. That is amazing. And if you guys are interested in really diving deep with Rosie, I invite you to participate in and become a member of her wellness business empire. And we're creating the last word. We're like collective circle. We're working on that right now, but it's our
Mm.
membership. And Rosie is going to be our guest presenter next month. Yes, we're so excited.
Right.
And so we're going to dive a little deeper to support this community. So if you want to participate in that and learn even more, I will have a link to that below as well. So I just
I
want to say
cannot wait to meet you.
I know it's going to be great. They're so excited already that I've shared that you're coming. They're very excited. So thank you so much for taking the time, have this conversation, and I'm so excited for everybody who gets to learn more from you and create their own card deck. So if you want to create a card deck, you know what to do, and share in the comments below what you would do a card deck on if you were to create a card deck. What ideas do you have? And then, of course, get that download so your ideas keep sparking. Thank you so much.
Thank you.